All right. Good morning, everyone. It is 10:02, so in the interest of being timely, we're going to get started. Thank you all so much for joining us today. CalSTART and NYSERDA are really excited for this webinar today to discuss New York's electric non-road truck industry and vehicle availability, and also the Truck Voucher Incentive Program. My name is Jennifer Kutzler. I'm the director in CalSTART's Northeast Regional Office. Really glad to be with you all today. My colleague Sydney is here with us as well.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining. My name is Sydney. I'm the lead project manager with CalSTART's Northeast Regional Office supporting the TVIP program. And I will turn it over to Kelsey.
Hello, everybody. Kelsey Khan. Glad to be here today. I'm on NYSERDA's Clean Transportation team and a senior project manager working on the Truck Voucher Incentive Program. Natalie?
Hey everyone, happy Thursday. I'm Natalie. I'm a project manager here at NYSERDA and I run the day-to-day of the Truck Voucher Incentive Program. I will pass it over to Adam.
Yeah, hey, good morning, everybody. My name is Adam Lamazany. I'm Associate Director here at NYSERDA. I oversee the Truck Voucher Program in addition to all of our open enrollment, NYSERDA's open enrollment, EV incentive, and charger programs. So it looks like it was a pretty good showing today, and we thank everybody for joining us. I know it's a busy couple of weeks with a number of events going on. And we thought it'd be a good idea to try and squeeze a webinar in to talk a little bit more about our program, but more broadly about the market here and this segment of the program. And I think we could move to the next slide if it didn't already move over. And mine it didn't, just to go over the agenda.
Yeah, we're clicking over. And then just for a quick admin note, just wanted to say here that we're really excited to chat with you all today. We want to answer your questions as well. So anytime throughout the presentation, please don't hesitate to use the Q&A function and drop your questions in there. We will be answering those as we go through the presentation. We will also leave some time at the end of the presentation where we'll allow you to come off mute if you'd rather ask your question verbally. So yeah, please don't hesitate to interact during the presentation. Back to you, Adam.
Thanks, Jenny. We're also joined here today by the program implementation contractors. So we call it Voucher Help Center, our staff that work on the Center for Sustainable Energy, CSE, that have supported us on this program for a number of years now, and they're here on the webinar as well. Yeah, just to give everyone a little background, we're trying to accomplish two things today with everyone's time. One is at the end to talk a little bit more about the program and the funding that we do have available for what we're calling non-road equipment, and some awareness about that. But more broadly, this has been a newer segment for this program. We received funding a couple of years ago for it, and we just wanted to give more information about state of the market, what's out there, some other another program, California programs experience with this. Some other resources that you can access, and just a better understanding like what is available on the market today. I think or we think this is an exciting part of the program, not only because it's newer, but it's a bunch of different types of equipment that we can fund. We call it non-road, some people call it off-road. This is everything from port equipment to airport ground support equipment, terminal tractors at warehouses. So it's a bigger market segment than maybe typically been able to access the truck voucher program. And the market's it's dynamic and changing. So goal here is just to give some more information about that, and you'll have our contact information. So I don't want to take up too much time, and just want to thank everyone for joining today, and I will kick it over. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Adam. So we're going to start off today diving into each of the non-road equipment categories funded by TVIP. We'll give a brief description, major manufacturers, and examples of models for each equipment type. So starting off with terminal tractors. So terminal tractors are specialized trucks designed to move semi-trailers or other shipping containers within warehouses, ports, or other distribution centers. Terminal tractors are also commonly called yard trucks or spotter trucks. And major manufacturers for this equipment type that have TVIP eligible models include Autocar, BYD, Orange EV, and Tico. The three models shown are examples of electric terminal tractor models. And you'll notice this blue TVIP button here, which indicates that the model shown is eligible for TVIP as of right now. Next slide. Next is agricultural and construction equipment. So agriculture and construction equipment are specialized machinery designed for heavy-duty earth moving, planting, harvesting, building, or other material handling. Common equipment includes loaders, excavators, tractors, forklifts, and tillage tools. Major manufacturers of terminal tractors that have TVIP eligible models include Bobcat, Heavy, First Green Industries, and Volvo. The models shown are examples of an electric track loader, wheel loader, and excavator. Next slide. All right, the next category is large forklifts and cargo handling equipment. Large forklifts and cargo handling equipment are heavy-duty machinery designed to lift, move, and stack heavy materials in ports, construction sites, or warehouses. Common equipment includes cranes, forklifts, container handlers and lifts, reach stackers, and side loaders. Major manufacturers of this equipment that have TVIP eligible models include Yale, Heister, and Kalmar. The models shown are examples of an electric counterbalance forklift, container handler, and heavy forklift. Next slide. The next category is railcar movers, freight locomotives, and switchers. Railcar movers are specialized vehicles designed to move railroad cars within rail yards. Freight locomotives or trains are rail vehicles designed to haul cargo carrying railroad cars. And switchers are low-speed trains designed to maneuver railroad cars within rail yards. Major manufacturers of terminal tractors that have TVIP eligible models include Zephyr. The models shown are examples of electric railroad vehicle and railcar movers. Next slide. All right, let's take a look at airport ground support equipment next. Airport ground support equipment are specialized vehicles used to assist and operate aircraft while on airport grounds. Common equipment includes ground power units, aircraft and baggage tractors, conveyors, and fuel trucks. Major manufacturers of this equipment type that have TVIP eligible models include Dynel and ITW. The models shown are examples of electric ground support units and a tow tractor. Next slide. Finally, let's look at transportable refrigeration units, or TRUs. TRUs are climate-controlled systems designed to cool or heat perishable products during transportation. Also called reefers, these units have typically mounted onto vehicles. Major manufacturers of TRUs that have TVIP-eligible models include Advanced Energy Machines. The models shown are examples of electric TRUs for different sized vehicles. Next slide. All right, so these models were found using CalStart's Off-Road Zero Emission Technology Inventory Tool, or OZETI. OZETI is an interactive online global database for finding commercially available zero-emission off-road and non-road vehicles and equipment. The database now tracks 380 distinct models across over 50 OEMs. You can filter by equipment, technology type, and more to find available models. And we will drop this link in the chat for everyone. All right, I will pass it back to Jenny.
Thank you so much, Sydney. So now that we've given you a little bit of a primer on what the non-road equipment types are that are eligible for the TVIP program, let's talk a little bit about the state of the industry for this type of equipment. As you can see from the chart shown here, over the last 5 to 10 years, there's been exponential growth in the model availability type of non-road equipment, including construction, cargo handling equipment, terminal tractors, and the TRUs. And this is really contributable to the advances in battery technology, increased energy density, and being able to provide the kind of power that's necessary for this equipment. And these trends follow along with what we're seeing on the on-road equipment as well. Specifically, terminal tractors are really close to being at cost parity and producing cost savings compared to their internal combustion engine counterparts. This has been generally the easiest and most common non-road equipment sector to electrify. For agricultural and construction equipment, there have been many successful deployments with light-duty equipment, and implementing the necessary charging infrastructure to support this equipment has presented some challenges for fleets, just thinking about the nature of construction equipment, that it's usually relatively transient work. There's not usually a lot of power available on sites, etc. Forklifts and cargo handling equipment is available in electric models and in a wide range of sizes. And demand for cargo handling equipment has been rapidly increasing, and the technology is continuing to improve to cover higher weights and longer work cycles needed for the cargo handling equipment. Rail cars, movers, freight locomotives, switchers, etc. This is a relatively new sector for electrification. The equipment suited for these higher weights and the longer weight cycles needed have begun to hit the market. It's still early in development, and the most popular use case here is, of course, for the switchers inside the rail yards. Airport ground support equipment is growing rapidly. Most equipment is available in lightweight capacities, and the demand for higher weight capacities is increasing, and we're starting to see those being deployed. We're going to go through a few examples in the Northeast in just a slide or two here. And electric TRUs tend to cost more than their internal combustion engine equivalents, but they can offer lifetime savings from reduced fuel and maintenance costs. And the ETRUs are performing strongly, and a lot of the traditional OEMs in this space are embracing electric. All right, so regionally, what are we seeing in the Northeast? The Red Hook Container Terminal has deployed 10 BYD terminal tractors in the Port of Newark and the Port of Elizabeth, making it the largest deployment of electric yard tractors in the eastern United States. They've seen an 81% reduction in fuel costs, a 90% reduction in carbon dioxide emissions, and 100% operational uptime. So this is a really great story of how tractors are being deployed. Additionally, and funded through the TVIP program, Manhattan Beer has deployed their first electric tractor in 2023 as part of their continued effort to electrify on and off-road. Other New York-based fleets that have received funding for off-road, non-road equipment, include Wegmans, Price Chopper, and FedEx. They've deployed over 30 electric terminal tractors using the New York Truck Voucher Incentive Program. And the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey has targets to support electrification and reduce emissions by 50% by 2030 and to reach total net zero by 2050. As of January 2025, any new terminal tractor added to the port's fleet must be a zero-emission vehicle. So we're seeing a lot of support for this non-road equipment across the region. As I mentioned, Wegmans is one of the places that has deployed an electric yard truck, and we have a really great quotation here from Matt Harris, the sustainability manager for Wegmans, and a really great article here as well, talking about their experience with these trucks. With 20 hours of runtime, they fit seamlessly into our operation, and each one eliminates 2,500 gallons of diesel fuel annually, not to mention the 85% reduction in maintenance that they offer. So really great experiences that we're seeing with the terminal trucks. With that, I'd love to hand it over to NYSERDA to talk to you a little bit more in detail about how you can take advantage of the vouchers and incentives that NYSERDA is offering for this equipment. Excellent. We've had a couple of questions come in through the Q&A. So folks were asking whether the recording will be available, and yes, absolutely, the slides and the recording will be uploaded to the TVIP website. You addressed the question of other incentives that help cover charging equipment, and just to note that the Joint Utilities Medium and Heavy Duty Make Ready pilot program can help cover those charging infrastructure costs.
Yeah, I did want to say too, there are, again, based on project, there are some availability for them to cover those. So definitely talk with your utilities. But yeah, thank you for that, Jenny.
Yeah, we got that in the chat as well. Is there a list of New York approved equipment dealers that offer construction equipment? And yes, that is on the TVIP website as well. And if you'd like to get that directly, please do send an email to the Voucher Help Center. They'd be happy to send that over to you personally. And of the funding available, how much of that is available for terminal tractors? And so I'm just going to go back to the funding slide here. This shows the amount of money that's available for the non-road equipment and the breakdown of the sectors. So terminal tractors are eligible for $5 million, and applications are currently open.
Thanks, Jenny. We're doing a little switch up here on the back end, but yeah, I will be going through the program vouchers and incentives. So As I was alluding to, and thanks for the background on some of that of the equipment. And I'll just say before I get into this, I mean, it's been pretty interesting over the past couple of years seeing the development of some of this equipment. I mean, we're even seeing some of these deployments in like the Department of Parks, on smaller excavators. And you guys read the news, you see some of the larger OEMs, whether it's CATS or Volvo, bringing in like pretty large equipment into this space for different use applications. So I think there's going to be a lot of development over the next several years. And as we talk to people, we hear a lot of benefits. I mean, obviously, financial is a big one, for total cost of ownership, but also looking at the noise, especially if you're talking about being in neighborhoods and conducting work and construction, reduce noise, in many cases, reduce vibration, and a lot of operating benefits that happen there. And we've also heard some other examples of people that come through our program. Some people are very interested in on-road trucks, but an ability to have something on your site and manage the charging, kind of work through that, where you have a bit more control, is a nice first step in some cases for people to jump into electrification of their equipment before moving into on-road vehicles. So I just wanted to offer some of that as well. But as far as the money, that's what a lot of people want to know, and happy to talk about that. So as I mentioned before, so non-road equipment, all this different type of equipment that we were just talking about. You can see on the chart on the right, this is how we categorize it. And this is the budget for each one, the total budget. So the whole program is currently is a total of $18 million. We're a little bit less than that. We're closer to about maybe 17 million, or a little bit less than that. But still the majority of this funding is available today. The standard voucher you're going to get is 35% off the cost of a piece of equipment. And so we get a purchase order, whatever total cost of that is, you get 35% off of that. We can do an additional 10% off, up to 45% off the cost of a piece of equipment, if the equipment will be operated in a state designated disadvantaged community. And if you guys aren't familiar with that, we have a link. We'll share this presentation on our website later. There's a link to that, and NYSERDA has a literal map that you can check if the location that you're operating this equipment at is in fact in there, and then you can qualify for that additional dollars. And we do this with a lot of our other programs too. Scrappage or dismantling of a similar internal combustion engine piece of equipment is required. Now, I think I guess, as I want to reiterate, while this is Volkswagen dollars, I think a lot of people are still remembering the whole engine model year 2009 requirement and older. That, just to be clear, that does not apply for this right now. Has to be, it does have to be an older model, but a previous year, and as long as it's an internal combustion engine, we can work with that. So if it's a 2015 or 2017 or something like that, come to us and we can help you determine that. But there is a lot more flexibility than previously that there was. One thing to keep note though is purchasers of the equipment, an entity cannot be awarded more than 2 million in one calendar year. So this is just a chance to make sure everyone gets a bite at the apple. But we also want to be sure that if people do get equipment and it gets deployed or delivered and deployed, that within the 365-day period, that they have an opportunity to come back if they want to purchase more. So we're just trying to control for the funding a little bit there. Next slide, please. Okay, so scrappage, also known as dismantling. So this is an older piece of equipment that's got to be scrapped for each new piece. So again, it's similar. If you're getting rid of a forklift that has a certain power rating and certain size, or you're purchasing one, then it has to be of a similar, essentially same type of vehicle. There's a little bit of wiggle room, but generally it's a kind of a one-for-one replacement. We have different terms and conditions, so we definitely recommend our implementation manual. I think the big thing on this is we've done a lot of dismantling and scrappage events with trucks. Equipment's a little bit newer, so the program, we have a list of eligible or qualified facilities you can go to that will do this, but we do highly recommend you, based on the size of your equipment and what it is, you check with them beforehand to make sure they can handle dismantling your equipment. In most cases, that's probably they're able to do that, but everything's a little bit specialized. We know that some of this equipment might have like fluids in it or hydraulic systems and things that are a little bit different than, say, like a school bus or a transit bus. So we do just want to make sure that you work with them, and if you have any questions, obviously please contact NYSERDA staff and we can help facilitate those conversations. Yeah, and then again, the idea of this is it has to be completely inoperable. So so no one can kind of harm the vehicle and try to fix it up and sell it on the market later. It has to be decommissioned and completely dismantled. Next slide, please. Okay. So one thing that NYSERDA does is, we fund a lot of this equipment and vehicles. We're trying to do two things. One is compliance. One is we're trying to make sure that, in fact, the vehicles and equipment that we're funding, are operating in New York State, or predominantly in New York State. So that's one aspect. The other aspect, though, is we are trying to legitimately collect operating information about the equipment so we can better understand its performance. We can better understand, how to do program design in response to that, and more importantly, where we can help focus the market as we learn have new learnings, and ultimately share it with the public, and to understand whether it's state of charge, performance, and things like that. So we have a 5-year period of reporting that information has to be given to NYSERDA. We have a separate group of consultants who work with us who do reach out to you. Ideally, we would like to see information provided from telematics devices, but that's something we can work on with the purchasers on that. So that's really the point behind the data collection. And we do this not just for this program, we also do it for a couple other programs where we're funding equipment. So keep that in mind, and if you have questions, please let us know. Next slide, please. Okay. So we're talking a little bit about the funding that is available for the equipment itself. A couple other things we wanted to make sure you guys are all aware of. There's a lot of different state programs or utility programs out there. Admittedly, it can be a bit confusing, what to access and what can, be stacked or conjoined together. So one really cool thing is that actually when we first launched this program, we weren't sure it was eligible, but non-road equipment is eligible for the the New York Joint Utility Make Ready program. There is a separate, for those of you not familiar, the Make Ready program is essentially, it can fund improvements to your site on the utility side to bring power service to the site. So whether, in the case there's like transformers or other like, fairly heavy upgrades that could need to happen, or certain types of upgrades that need to happen. If you go through this program, there's a good chance you can get a lot of those costs covered through the utility program. And then what you can do is, if you go through truck voucher first, we determine that it's an eligible project, we can give you, an award letter notice, and you can take that to your participating utility within the joint utilities, show them that, and then you can start the process them of attempting to access, money from them. In some cases, you can get from the utilities up to 90% of the utility side infrastructure costs completely covered, in addition to the TVIP voucher. So it's a pretty nice, the economics start to make a lot more sense when you combine these things. If anyone, also people following some of the Make Ready news, there has been a suspension of the light duty side of that program temporarily. But the Make Ready pilot for the heavy duty side, our understanding that is still active. So that's not related to this, and you should definitely still coordinate with the utility on this. We also have a contractor list to find a contractor who can help you apply for Make Ready funding through the utilities Make Ready portal. And there's a link to that in there. We'll share later. Next slide, please. I see we're starting to get some questions, which we will get to. So also for those who don't know, we wanted to let you aware of some events going on. So next week especially is pretty busy. So the New York City Department of Citywide Administrative Services, DCAS, similar to the New York State's Office of General Services, OGS, similar agencies, but this is for the city. They put on a pretty awesome event every year in Corona Park and Flushing at the Unisphere, and they have manufacturers of equipment, vehicles, and also like other providers of equipment like related to vehicles, all showcasing out there. So that's a great opportunity to see a lot of these vehicles in person. So you can see them, you can go in them, talk to the representatives about them. Quite a few of them there are actually going to be TVIP eligible vehicles. So definitely talk to them about that. And then there's a whole litany of other people that are just good to talk to about this stuff. So that is next Thursday in Queens. So if you get a chance, definitely recommend that during the day. And last we'll leave you is, of course, a QR code, but information on how to contact NYSERDA, the Voucher Help Center. Can't recommend them enough if you have basic questions about how the program works, eligibility, all that good stuff. Please contact them either through their phone or the email. They're very responsive and will walk you through all the steps. If they don't know an answer, they come to us directly, myself or Natalie or Kelsey. We're still working with them, but they're a great first line to talk to. And then, of course, our website below, if you haven't taken a look at that, we will be posting this presentation on there, and we have a bunch of other helpful materials and resources. For example, much more detailed kind of trainings on the scrappage process and other things too that are good to look at. And then lastly, if you're not already on it, we have an email list to sign up so you get good program updates from us. So I think that's the majority of what we want to talk about. I see one question from James in the chat. Are there any other incentives that help cover charging equipment? Great question. So if you're talking about, say, like chargers or like that kind of customer side stuff, right now, no. What I will in New York, not that I am aware of, for medium heavy duty. However, I do want to tease that we will be working on for the truck voucher program. We received some funding in last year's state budget allocation that will be going to charging infrastructure in this program. The amount is, we're still kind of working on the exact amount, but with the scale that, just for people's awareness, would be somewhere between 15 and $20 million. We're actively working on program rules around that because we want to be conscientious to give as many people an opportunity to access the funding, but also some projects can be expensive, so we don't want a couple of applications to hog it all up, but we also don't want it to be a really complex program for people to get into. So please look out for that. That's one thing we'll be doing. And then one other thing I do want to tease as well that we're currently in the process of doing is today NYSERDA provides fleet electrification plan services for school districts on school buses, which, if you're not familiar with these are essentially kind of like pre-engineering plans that help the school districts understand like all the steps they need to do to electrify. They look at it at a per depot level, and they give some assessments on understanding like the range of their buses, what kind of charging equipment they need, and what kind of work needs to be done. So that positions the school district to work with an actual engineering firm and get those projects done. We are looking to roll out a similar type of thing for the medium heavy duty side, so private sector can access that. So I'm hoping, we're hoping towards the end of this year that will be an available option on the street for people to access, and NYSERDA covers a pretty significant cost of that. But please keep look out for that. Another reason to sign up for our newsletter.
Is there an ETA for the slides and the recording to be on the website? So what we can do is we can put a PDF of these slides together and email those out to anyone who registered to attend. The recording might take a little bit longer just because it has to go through several departments at NYSERDA for approval. but we'll make sure that those get over to you as timely as we can. Ooh, great question. All right. If our dairy farm is interested in moving towards electric equipment, could you speak to how you would approach it? Would you start by applying for the type of program or work with a utility company? How's the best way to start? This is a great question. Adam, would you like to take this one?
Yeah, well, so the first thing we'll say, we're certainly not going to tell you, what like equipment to get or what things to do because we're, just we don't understand your operation, which is more reason to pay attention to the, when we release these fleet electrification plans, because that might be something of interest that helps with this exact question. But at the high level, yeah, I would say it's always really good to engage with your utility as soon as you can. Obviously talk to us, and as I was mentioning, to access the funding to the utility program, they do need an award letter from NYSERDA. However, to get a good understanding of what it's going to take for your project and maybe the electrical capacity needs, talk to utilities first so you can get a sense of like what you're in for. And so for your edification, but also so the utility is aware of this, and they can start to plan and assist as necessary. So definitely I would recommend starting with them.
Yeah, I'd also say if you're not really sure where to start or what kind of equipment you're currently using, you can go to the OZETI tool and take a look there and see what kind of equipment is available, an electric model. And then the Truck Voucher Help Center can help let you know whether that equipment is on the list and eligible for TVIP. But definitely take advantage of the resources that are out there to do some research. And CalStart's always here as well. If you have a specific question on something that's on the OZETI tool, or you just want to know whether, hey, is this kind of equipment even available in electric, we're happy to answer those questions for you as well. As always, we really thank you for attending this webinar. Appreciate your enthusiasm. And please don't hesitate to reach out to anyone here with questions if they arise after the webinar.